to talk about? We're here to talk about pro wrestling, specifically AEW. And our favorite show right now, AEW Dynamite. And last night was Fyter Fest Night 2. Now, we talked about this off air. Night 1, quite possibly the best episode of Dynamite that we can recall.
Yeah, might have been the best. Yeah, that came to mind recently. Now, and this is kind of a weird, we'll get right back into what you're saying here. This is really a 3-week event for them. You have the Fyter Fest Night 1, you have the Fyter Fest Night 2, and then they roll right into Fight for the Fallen, right? I mean, like, this is like an annual 3-week event almost.
Yeah.
I know they call it two different things, but...
Yeah, but it's a festival of celebration. So before we get into our specific breakdown of Fyter Fest Night 2, I will ask you later, but what did you think of this event?
I like this event. I told you I would give it a solid A show. I think because last week was like, oh, this is the best ever. I know some things where I'm like, yeah, this didn't hit home as well as I would have thought. But yeah.
Well, then let's get into it.
All right.
So it kicks off last night with the 5 labors of Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho versus Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears is allowed to use a chair. Chris Jericho is not. MJF is on commentary. Tim, Chris Jericho ends up winning this match, but what did you think?
I thought, let me get back on here. I thought this match went great for that reason, right? The ability of, like, you get to use the chair and I don't is fun, right? Because you get to work some of them spots in there, albeit he did kind of use the chair. Yeah. Go figure. What are you going to do? However, I liked, the match well enough. We all understood Chris Jericho's going to win, but they still put on a show where you're like, all right, you guys went hard. You did some spots here. I don't know that I'm a huge fan of this Judas Effect finish. Every time I see it, I'm like, I like it less and less because I think it would be better if somebody was like, if it was like a young guy like Ricochet could really spin real quick and hit it right and in the right spot every time. But old man Jericho ain't doing it. This is getting half a side of the bicep sometimes, you know what I mean, on the chest. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I talked to you during the show about Chris Jericho. Look, creatively speaking, he is hitting home run after home run. Physically looking at him, though, And we got the comment from MJF, which MJF on commentary, so great. By the way, what do you call a hot girl from Dallas?
What?
A tourist. That was the line of the night. I loved MJF on commentary.
That's right. I did. I forgot about that last.
That was so great. But he also said, this isn't Chris Jericho in labor. It's the 5 labors of love or 5 labors of Jericho.
That line
and I know how you can be confused by that because look, like I said, Chris Jericho creatively, everything he's doing, home runs. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. But man, if I said, hey, casual fan that watched during the Attitude Era, Chris Jericho's still going, and they see this guy, yeesh. But regardless, I like the match as well. I like that Sammy Guevara got involved, right? Because then now we get back to Sammy Guevara, Shawn Spears. We're probably going to get a blow off there. And then that allowed Chris Jericho to win. So what I liked about that is it was Chris Jericho winning, but not Shawn Spears just looking like a doofus and getting beat clean by a guy who couldn't use a chair and then he could use the chair, right? Like they had Sammy Guevara get involved. So it made more sense that, hey, Shawn Spears would lose because there's outside interference. Now, let's get into the post-match promo. MJF, upset, beside himself, says, I realize you got past the first labor of Jericho, but the second labor you will not get past. First off, no outside interference. Second off, no holds barred. Third of all, it's the most violent man currently in pro wrestling. It is Nick fucking Gage. Holy shit, Tim. What did you think of this?
He, for those who know Nick Gage, I knew who he was talking about when he said, he robbed a bank without a mask, and I was like, God damn, they brought Nick motherfucking Gage onto this show. They are about to. I mean, I'm not too surprised when they went with the, the death matches and the death matches, right? The exploding death matches and the other matches. Like, this is not necessarily off brand or pushing the envelope, I don't think. So I think this, however, Nick Gage will be pushing the envelope. They may tell him don't staple gun his tongue to a thing, but Nick Gage might tell him, fuck you, lick my nutsack. So I don't know what's going to happen, and that's why this is can't miss television, because it's Nick fucking Gage.
Can't miss television.
I am
so excited for next week. Here's what I thought, though, is Nick Gage, GCW champion. And again, this weekend, if you haven't already made plans, make sure to do so. Saturday night, Nick fucking Gage versus Matt Cardona for the GCW championship on Fight TV. It's going to be incredible. But when I saw Nick Gage actually on the stage, and you had Nick Gage at MJF, and we're going to get into more of the people who were involved throughout the night, I saw Simon Miller from What Culture post this on Twitter, so credit to him. But it almost feels like AEW is Super Smash Bros, where it's like you get King Kong and then Mario, or another good analogies. Have you seen the newest Space Jam? The Space Jam 2 with LeBron
I have
James?
not seen the newest one, no.
Okay, well, it's not a big spoiler, but part of the story is the Looney Tunes with LeBron James are bumping around the entire universe of Warner Brothers. So you get Game of Thrones, you get The Matrix, you get the Jetsons, you get the Flintstones. And this is kind of what...
like cameo spots, yeah.
Right, and this is what AEW is starting to feel like, where you're getting all of these different people. Nick, I mean, think about this, Tim. We had in one night, Orange Cassidy,
Yep.
Sting, Taz, Nick Gage, and Kenny Omega. Like this wide end spectrum of all of those different characters in one night of wrestling. It's just incredible. So I can't wait. Again, next week, it's going to be the second Labor of Jericho in a no holds barred, unsanctioned match. Nick fucking Gage versus Chris Jericho. Now, I'm going to make an early prediction.
Okay.
As I mentioned, Saturday night is going to be Matt Cardona versus Nick Gage for the GCW championship. I believe that Chris Jericho is going to get some outside interference, and it's not going to be from the inner circle, because again, the inner circle is not allowed ringside or involved in this match. That doesn't mean that Matt Cardona isn't allowed. And we've seen Matt Cardona in AEW.
That's what it's going to be.
But here's the thing. Like you said, Nick Gage might kill Jericho. He might kill people in the crowd.
He brought a pizza cutter to the guy. Look, it's right.
He had a fork in his hand and was just like, yeah, I'm going to fucking use this on your forehead, which we'll get into that spot from another couple wrestlers a little bit later, but cannot wait. So let's get back into it. After the commercial break, we had our TNT champion, Miro, cutting a promo, and he talks about how he is the Redeemer. Now, this was fun. He didn't necessarily call out one specific person, but it sounded like, hey, we're going to get back to business. I'm kicking someone's ass. What did you think of the promo?
I thought it was true to the character that he's portraying right now, and, you know, to the his arrogance of it and all of that. So I like that. You looking at the chat? Shout out to the chat.
Yeah, thank you, Theo.
If you're not on the live stream, you're missing out. Typically 7:30 Thursday nights. It's always Thursday nights. We'll let you know otherwise. Around 7:30. We were running a little late.
7:30 in the one true time zone, Central Standard Time.
True that. Theo75, shout out. He says, look at T-Max sprayed on tan. 9 out of 10 needs more gold-plated teeth.
Hey, we'll get there.
Yeah. Look at that.
We'll get there, baby.
Yeah, look at that. Look, yeah, give it time, man. More sun. More fun in the sun, baby. Yeah, spray tan. This is all natural. Yeah, this is all natural. What you talking about? Listen, what were we fucking talking about? Miro. I think this is one of the things where I was like, cool. Last week's promo was way fucking better. So this felt, I was like, we could have done something else here and I would have been fine. Like, I don't feel like this advanced much, you know.
Well,
okay.
Tim.
Yeah.
There is a detail. And this is why I'm reading into it, because, as we just mentioned, we just saw GCW heavyweight champion Nick fucking Gage, MDK, all fucking day. If you noticed, Miro was cutting a promo, and he was wearing a Bloodsport jacket.
I did notice that. So we getting Barnett.
Now, you could say, oh, that's Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Cool, he's a fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Sure is.
Whatever, right? Or you could say, that's a call out. We have Bloodsport, a promotion They do a bi-monthly show, and Josh Barnett versus Miro. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up if that's what we're doing. Again, that's a little detail that maybe I'm reading too much into, but if that's where we're going, I'm in.
Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible idea, and we may get that. I'm not as much of a, Josh Barnett dude as you are, I guess. So I'm not dying to see it, but I know it'll be good. You know what I mean?
You want to talk about someone who can actually throw hands?
Well, yes. Yeah, that I'm aware of. I'm aware of. Yeah. He's not going to go in there and like be worried that Miro's going to actually fuck him up. I get that.
Right.
But yeah.
Should be fun. If that's where we're going. Again, that's my prediction. I have no sources. I don't like, by the way, timeout real quick. We'll get back into our AEW Dynamite recap here, but it's an AEW tidbit that I'd like to get your feedback on.
Yeah.
You can't stay away from it. You're seeing it all over the internet.
I know.
The rumor is AEW has signed both Daniel Bryan and CM Punk.
Yep.
Here's the thing that I will say. If that is true, go fuck yourselves for reporting that, because you're ruining surprises. These are the same motherfuckers that if Star Wars was coming out, they'd be like, hey, by the way, Darth Vader is Luke's father. It's being reported that in the script, Darth Vader is Luke's. Like, just let us have some fun.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. Don't report that. Like, I get you. You know what I mean? Like, we all know who the legit guys are and who have the scoops. We don't need to you don't need to prove it. And I kind of look, I really don't care to see CM Punk. And like,
ooh, I kind of do.
I mean, nah. You know what could be cool? Is if these guys come in under the same purpose and reason, right? Mm-hmm. If they show up together and they're like, we're here to do X, Y, and Z.
They're the new outsiders kind of thing.
Yeah. Or maybe they're like, we heard a lot about how this Bullet Club was the coolest thing in wrestling. Meanwhile, we were the coolest fucking thing in wrestling, right? Like something like that. Sure. Look, I'm not to discredit CM Punk's ability to get over, to tell good stories, to tell a decent story in the match. I think he's an A-level player wherever you're going to place him. I mean, obviously we don't know now skill set-wise and stuff like that, but I never, like, he never would have been my choice, even when he was doing his best as like the A-plus top line guy. He just wasn't my personal thing. But I get a lot of people like him. People like him. So I as much as I'll be like, Jesus fucking Christ, this blowhard again, I will probably get over that if he's doing a good job, which he probably could. So I'm going to give him that pass. The Daniel Bryan thing, I'm like, this could go one of many ways. Daniel Bryan is another guy where it's like, we hear AEW does like, we like to give the talent this free reign to do what they want. It's like, you got to check him once in a while because he's very like, he's a fringe guy, right? You know what I mean? Like, he might come up with something that could be gold. You could be like, listen, man, like, we've got to like tweak this. Or
he could take that Planet's Champion thing and actually be a babyface in AEW, and then we get some really cool shit, right? Like, he can do some things. I'm excited for both.
I would love to see that heel Planet's Champion again, though. I think even in AEW, you could still. I still think in AEW you could still work it as a heel, because if you're doing it where like you can't do it because I said so, which is goddamn WWE for fucking that up. That was tailor made for their audience to hate, fucking hate, to hate. Whatever.
So anyhow, my biggest tangent about this though is I'm so tired of these sites and these retweets of people saying like, did you hear? It's blah, 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 blah. Stop, man. Why do you want to ruin things for yourself? And we'll get into WWE here in a little bit. And spoiler alert, John Cena appears at the end of Money in the Bank. But we kept seeing retweets and likes of stuff that would show up on your Twitter profile that
was going to happen. Yeah.
John Cena. And so like, why do you do that? It's such a fucking buzzkill. I would have been legit like excited. Now, again, the story sucked, but I would have been legit excited to see John Cena reappear if I didn't see all of that shit on Twitter. Now, maybe that's on me, but again, I like friends that like this show, that like that stuff, that then like and retweet it, and then I happen to see it. So what are you going to do? But anyhow, let's get back into AEW real quick. So after Miro cuts his promo in his Bloodsport jacket, we get the most baffling match of the night. We got to go into this a little bit here, because for as great as AEW is, sometimes they miss, and I think they missed here. We had Frankie Kazarian, the Elite Hunter, taking on in one-on-one action tag team wrestler, Doc Gallows, and Doc Gallows wins.
Yeah.
You can't be a hunter if you never shoot and kill anything.
So here's an aspect of the, we've lamented this, like, when Frankie Kazarian came and, like, first dropped that bomb, like, I'm the, he never called himself the Elite Hunter. He just said, like, I'm coming after you, did this Taken speech. And we were like, that's a great idea. They're not going, it would work, but they're not going to do it with Frankie Kazarian. It's not going to get over with him. They're not going to put him in the line. They're not going to put him in the spot. It was tailor-made for the number one guy to take down the Elite, right? Which was never going to be Frankie Kazarian. So now, if you just fall short, I think it's almost better where he's like, I'm coming after you. And every time he comes after him, it's like, bam! And he just gets beat the fuck down. And we start like, God damn it, come on. Kazarian, you know what I mean? Like, these guys wronged you, don't give up. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Better, maybe, than what we were getting prior to this. I don't know.
What we're getting, but here's my point, and I said this on our Twitter, @TableShow. We live tweet during AEW Dynamite on whatever night it airs, so please join us and join the conversation. But what I said was, he lost this match to a tag team wrestler. Again, you can beat one of these fucking guys. Might as well beat a tag team wrestler in a singles competition. But okay, right, to your point. He can't get a win over these guys, but he's not going to quit until he does. Okay, fair enough. But then you also put on top of this that every fucking time that he comes out to help the baby faces when the Elite are trying to get one over on him, they still fucking lose. Kind of feels like you're a fucking loser.
Here's a better idea. Everything we're saying, right? He's trying. He's failing. We're like, God damn, poor guy. You know what I mean? Like, he was wrong. He has every right to try to go fight these guys, and I hope he makes good on it, but he's not. And you're right. The faces still lose. But here's something that's happening, right? Now they're beating his ass because they're like, fuck you, you're a thorn in our side. Well, those faces aren't returning the favor. They're not coming back to help. They're not showing up. And he goes, maybe I'm hunting the wrong people.
Ooh. Now, we'll see. But let's talk about
hire Tim.
That is a good one. I do like that. So,
Tim.
As mentioned, Doc Gallows gets the win, but then the Good Brothers. Not going to talk about it anymore because you guys all know how I feel.
Are they good?
But then the Good
Brother?
Well, they're Impact wrestlers, but regardless.
Hey, you know how we feel about Impact Wrestling, so
I just don't get why it's okay. Side note. Let's go back.
Impact Wrestling's weird. I'm sorry. Pause.
Well,
I've tried to watch Impact Wrestling a bunch of times, and it's always a weird show.
I just don't get why a tag team isn't taking them out on the basis of get out of my company. Get out of my company.
Yeah.
This is my company. You don't work here. You don't go. Yeah. Remember Bianca Belair? You don't even go here.
Yeah.
That should be the fucking story. Anyhow, Good Brothers start to beat up Kaz. Kenny Omega comes out, and he's snapping and clapping along, and then he also starts beating up Kaz, and that brings out one of the biggest pops of the night. The most over guy in pro wrestling. # cowboy shit. We got Hangman Adam Page, and he charges the ring. Here's the fun detail I want to tell you. We still have yet to see Kenny Omega and Hangman get physical.
Here's something,
I like that.
Here's something that I thought. Either Hangman is a great actor, or Hangman was drunk doing that segment. He was... When he was like, you drink right now? I was like, it was like the Taz, like, there's a good chance of that. Like when they dropped the, are you high right now? I was like, there's a good chance of that. It looked legit. I was like, shit, is he really staggering? I was like,
why not?
Or he's,
he does that buckshot lariat. Yeah, he does that buckshot lariat.
Hey, I'm not gonna pass judgments. I too am drinking right now on the job. Thanks to our beer sponsor of the week, Justin Summers, the guy who smells like what is, I don't know, what's a good smell in 2021?
He smells like success and vaccines.
Yes. You see that video of Fauci calling out Rand Paul?
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
All right, goddamn. All right, anyway, so
okay.
Justin Summers is a swell dude. We love that guy. If you want to be the beer sponsor of the week, SpanishAnnounceTable.net. Donate to us on PayPal. Hey, Tom, back to this.
Yeah, so Hangman comes out, but then he gets beat up 4 against 1. Kazarian's on the outside, I guess, unconscious, which whatever. But then that brings out the Dark Order, and then the Dark Order chases them off to set up next week. We finally get this match where, again, if Hangman and the Dark Order loses, they both lose their tag team opportunity and their number one contendership with Hangman Adam Page versus Kenny Omega. What do you think? We're getting excited. Let's do an early prediction. What do you think? What happens here? Hangman and the Dark Order come through, or do they fall short? They can fall short.
If they fall short, the heat from that. But see, the thing with that, though, is I get there will be heat. But I don't know that the crowd is going to direct that heat at like Kenny Omega and Don Callis. I think they're going to direct that heat at AEW. You know what I mean? So I think that's a move I wouldn't make. I think they've got to come through and get their matches. Now, or we write around how they get back to a match. Don't get me wrong.
That's what I think. If they do it, we can still get there because there's enough time.
But will the fans turn on you at that point? Like now it feels like when we talk about strike while the iron is hot.
That's true.
The iron can't be any hotter.
Right.
If it's hotter, you're going to burn the clothes. It's good. Like do it now. You got to do it.
But I will say, off the heels of night one, and I don't know how we feel about night two as far as the winners, but on night one specifically, it was all baby faces. It was all yay. Nothing bad happened.
Yep.
It was all baby faces leave, excited, yay. And that's good to a certain extent until, okay, do the bad guys ever get a win? And that's what I'm saying. They might get a win here because if anyone's going to book themselves over, if we're breaking kayfabe here for a second, it's going to be Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks.
Have a, idea of like, hey, you think we're going to do this?
Right. They have that mentality.
Surprise.
So,
and don't get me wrong, they have approached the storyline the way we have never approached a pro wrestling storyline in my memory, right? Like with this like slow burn of like a guy's mental health aspect of it. Yeah. Hey, shout out to the chat again. Theo chimed in with his thoughts on what heavy smells like. He says smells like pine tar. So I don't know if that's good or bad. That's a good thing, right? People love the smell of pine tar.
Fan?
Yeah.
Hey,
you love the
Kansas
smell
City.
of pine tar.
George Brett, Kansas City. We got pine tar.
Yeah, we love that pine tar over here in Kansas City with George Brett. Bring that up with him. See if he fucking slaps you and chokes you. Anyway.
We'll see. So, we get a pull apart, and that's where that story ends for the night. Again, buckshot lariat from Hangman on Carl Anderson, which made me smile because fuck Carl Anderson.
Buckshot lariat. That thing looks so cool when they do it right.
It's the best.
It's a lot of setup, and that's where you can lose some of the believability, but hitting the move, he does so well. Fucking well.
It's great. So now backstage, we get Brian Cage. And they talk about earlier in the day, Team Taz are celebrating Ricky Starks' victory. They say next week, Ricky Starks is going to celebrate that he is now the FTW champion. Brian Cage says, I love celebrations. Might see you there. So it looks like we're going to get something there.
And let me point something out. This is what AEW does better tenfold than WWE in 2021 and for seemingly the last 20 years in WWE. We had that big fucking swerve last week. We got hey, it happened, and fuck you, what are you going to do about it? Nothing else this week. We've got to tune in next week. WWE would have put a match, and then we would have got a match next week, and then we would have got a match the week after that, and we would have got a match the fucking week after that.
With no story progression.
We would have already seen Kenny Omega and Hangman wrestle 14 fucking times already.
Yeah, with no storyline progression.
In tag matches, in 3-on-1s, and fucking just straight up matches, and then a gimmick match, and then the blow off would have been a fucking TLC match. Yeah, they don't slow roll anything anymore, and this is great. Like we were like, oh fuck, what's gonna happen with Brian Cage and Team Taz, new FTW champion? Well, we don't know what's gonna happen. All we know is, man, what are you gonna do about it, bitch? And that's great. I love that.
And got something to look forward to next week.
Yes.
So after that,
pause.
Then we get...
I want to talk about Will fucking Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs, right?
Yeah. Okay.
This dude is getting infinitely better every time I see him. If you've watched him on Dark and Elevation, like when he's in the ring, like he's hitting it. Like he's getting way better. Like his swagger is there, and it's exactly the swagger this kind of guy needs, where he's just like, bitch, try. Like they come and he's just fucking throwing him around the ring, and he's like, yeah, what the fuck are you gonna? You know what I mean? Like he's loving it. Oh, this guy could be a star, I think.
He's the future. Again, I still think I like the swerve, right? We got Ricky Starks as the FTW champion, but still, optics and just if we're in kayfabe land, it still doesn't make sense why Ricky Starks and Taz would even be friends, because Ricky Starks is wanting to get manicures, Taz is wanting to do blow behind the bar. You know what I mean?
If you want to hashtag hire Tim, all you got to do to shore that up is Taz, while I am a tough beast, and I will rip your fucking limbs from your body if you test me, pal. or I'll just get my fucking son to do it. I also am a businessman, and I know money when I see it, and I get to the top because I'm a promoter. You know what I mean? Like,
but then that kind of yes, I like that, and that would make sense. However, and it's not as good as Team Taz, I will be honest, but isn't Matt Hardy kind of doing that?
Yeah, well, I would not have had Matt Hardy do it.
Well, so anyhow.
If you want to hashtag hire too.
Yeah. So let's get back into the ring here. We get Darby Allin taking on, which I found out because, again, I don't know independent pro wrestling, but you know who does? Our beer sponsor of the week, Justin Summers. Willard Utah is the IWTV, the Internet Wrestling, or excuse me, the Independent Wrestling champion. Did you know that? He's the Independent Wrestling champion. Pretty cool.
So
Found that out.
I've heard this guy's going to be good. And here's what I will say. Again, he kind of wrestles the style we don't like, but it's a little different. I like it a little more. It is more technical, mat-based, right? So it is a lot more around the ring. I'm over here. I'm over here. I'm under. It's a lot more choreographed, which you can tell. But it is a little more. It's less like hold my hand while I go up here and do a whirly bird and arm drag you. It's like you thought you threw me out of the ropes. I snuck back in real quick, and as soon as you bounce off the ropes, I'm rolling you up into a fucking, you know what I mean, an arm bar or something, right? So that's cool. I'll give him that. It's a little different.
And it's a little bit more of the guy just stays still. Like, why would you stay there? It's like, well, because he's got to go here to here to here. Yeah. But again, it's not the jumping and I just stand and look at him. Anyhow, we get Darby Allin with Sting taking on Wheeler Utah with Orange Cassidy.
Yes.
Moment of the night. Let's talk about it. Sting and Orange Cassidy have a beatdown brawl, the likes we've never seen before. It was incredible. They had to. I thought security was going to come in at any moment here. What did you think of the stare down, beat down between Sting and Orange Cassidy?
This was fun, and then it became clear why this match was booked. I was like, this match is weird. Like, I don't understand why it's here. And then this spot came, and I was like, this is why they set the whole match up. Very fun spot.
I loved it. Yeah. Credit to Sting, too. This is where you got to give Sting his props, if we're breaking kayfabe for a quick second, is legends of a certain ilk, Goldberg, I'm talking to you, where I can't do that, brother. It's my gimmick. I can't do that. I can't look lesser than. Where Sting, who's done it all.
Yeah.
Done it all. Beat Ric Flair, beat Hulk Hogan. He's went to WWE. He's been in WrestleMania. He's been in Starrcade. I mean, he's done it all. He says, hey, I know that this guy's pretty over. I can do his thing, and I think it'll be relevant. And that's exactly what he did. So credit a legend to do that.
I will say this. We've talked a lot in this 8-year anniversary show of ours. My thoughts on Sting differ from your thoughts on Sting.
Love Sting.
As a general totality. I will say this. Over the last 8 years of the show, I like Sting a whole lot more than I did to start because of things like this, right? As he's taken on that veteran role and we'll call it the old, what used to be called the Chris Jericho contract, right? Where he could kind of come in for a few spots, leave, and, come back for a few months and leave. Well, you're right. Every time it is always with this, he is a star and he's getting all this shine and all this spotlight, and it is about Sting, but that never comes across from him. He is always like fucking putting over the people, like having humility about him and stuff. And now Sting is a man of, he lives by certain values and faiths and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm sure some of that comes into play for him. But I mean, like he is the professional that is like, I want to help get these guys over, and it shows. Right. It really does show. Yeah.
And he's adapting his character to the current circumstances. For example, if you go back to his first match, that cinematic match where he went into Darby Allin's world and they had that factory match against Team Taz, it wasn't just Sting with crows and he does the Scorpion Death Drop and I hit a couple people with the bat, let's get out of here. It was more a Darby Allin match that had Sting, unlike a Sting match that just had all these other guys. And by the way, I'm going to squash all of them and I'm going to look the coolest. So anyhow, Darby Allin gets the victory. Post-match, we do get a real beatdown. We get the Blade coming out of nowhere with Nux and just takes out Orange Cassidy. Yeah. Just gives him a, how's your father? See you next Tuesday. Fuck out of here. And then we'll get that match here in a little bit. But what did you think of the Blade coming out before their match to get a good old 5 across your lips?
So where I think we're going from this is I thought, is the Butcher hurt? Is he not around?
I think so.
Because I thought that's the easy answer. We're going to get the Butcher and Blade versus Wheeler Yuta and Orange Cassidy, right? Another chance to highlight Wheeler Yuta. We get Orange Cassidy again. We get the pockets. And, you know what I mean? Butcher the Blade. Yeah, you get the pockets, right? But maybe we're just going to get Orange Cassidy versus the Blade or something at Fight for the Fallen or something. Like they've been playing this little offshoot, back and forth with this Hardy family office. I guess anybody could fill in. It could be the Blade and anybody versus those two guys too. I think that's cool.
I think this was the blow-off. Yeah. Again, we'll get to it in just a second.
I think it was huge. Like it didn't I was like, oh man, I can't wait for this. I was like, what a dick.
Yeah. But we'll get to it in just a second. So after the commercial break, we get an AEW Women's World Championship match. Credit to AEW for listening to the podcast. They didn't put this before the main event. They put it at the top of the hour, and I loved it. And it was Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, taking on the Native Beast, Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero. What did you think of this match? I thought this was pretty fun.
Match was good. They go hard. I think every time we see these like big spots from the DMD, she kills it. Britt Baker is a professional at this, and she wants to give that big match. So I thought they went good here. I like the angle they took with the Eddie Guerrero spot. She didn't steal the Guerrero thing to fuck with Guerrero. She tried to, and it almost backfired on her. But didn't even stop the match or anything. It was like, all right, fuck, sorry, oops.
Well,
you know what I mean? I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the match, again, I will never thoroughly criticize a match because I've never done one. I really don't know how difficult it is. I have friends who are pro wrestlers. It seems pretty hard. So I'm not going to be like, oh, However, it was a little clunky towards the start of the match.
Yes,
it was a little clunky,
absolutely.
But
Their
I like
timing
that
was a
because
little
sometimes, but sometimes, fuck it, right? It's a
in
fight.
a real fight that happens.
Yeah.
I have been in fights where we try to swing and we miss a couple times and we fall over on something, then we get them and we're punching again. Yeah, that's real. Yeah.
So it was a little clunky, but again, I liked it. Wasn't the worst thing in the world. But to your point, that Eddie Guerrero spot I thought was perfect because Nyla Rose being cornered by Vicky Guerrero would totally understand what the fuck was happening to her, right?
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it is it made sense from a storyline perspective that Britt Baker would try to do the Eddie thing to her, and she's like, no, I got Eddie's wife. She knows what to do in this situation.
I
Here's
loved
the fucking belt back.
that it was a twist. It was like, okay, we're seeing people, we've seen this. We've seen people do the Eddie Guerrero shtick as an homage. And it was like, oh, cool, because Vicky's there, I get it. I wasn't hating it, but I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Everybody's done that. I was like, all right, okay. But the idea that, it didn't work, and now the refs turned him back, she just threw it back. She's like, no, please don't. And it was like, oh, I like that. You did something different than nobody else was doing, and I like that.
Yeah, I was going to be honestly upset that it would make Nyla Rose look so stupid that his wife, Vicky Guerrero, did not teach her how to get around this spot. So I like that. That was really good. But as we get to the finish, a really cool finish with kind of a flow through into the lockjaw that we got here. And we get a still, #and still, AEW Women's World Champion, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, as your winner. What did you think? Did you like the move? Did you think Britt Baker should still be the champ? And what do you see next for her?
Yes, Britt Baker should still be the champ. I didn't think they were going to get. I never once thought it was happening that Nyla Rose was going to take this thing. Britt Baker is the champ. I don't know where they go. I don't know who the next. I mean, they'll throw somebody in, but I think she's going to have a good run for a while. So I don't think whoever the next person is.
I agree. Now, if you pay attention to AEW's Twitter page, they announced something.
Yeah.
Birthday girl, as of July 22nd, birthday girl, Thunder Rosa officially became All Elite. That makes me excited.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're going.
She's great, and we're going to do that, yes. Hey, let's shout out the chat again. If you're just listening to the podcast, you didn't join us live, shame on you. If I can steal a Dak Draper term, shame on you. You could join the chat. You could talk to us just like Big Josh did, and he said, did we get an MJF coin update? And we didn't. I forgot. I ran out of time, but I told him, hold on a second, man. I'll do one here live. And just said, fuck it, we'll do it live. All right?
Well,
give me the fucking live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Well, here.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Hold on.
All right.
Well, let's do it after the AEW recap.
Okay.
We'll use that as our transition. So I'll give you some time to look it up. So let's get into it here. Britt Baker is still your women's world champion, but then afterwards, and this is where I think addition of Rampage is going to help out a lot of people, because after Britt Baker beats Nyla Rose to retain her championship, we get a press conference that took place earlier in the day between FTR and Santana and Ortiz. Now, they're saying a lot of the same things where we're from different side of the tracks, but we're kind of the same people. And then Santana's like, you ain't anything like me. I got real stories and real shit. And then FTR says like, hey, there's 3 things I care about. It's beating your ass, God, and wrestling, or something like that.
I'm going to call something out.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the same thing you've been saying. We don't need any more wrestlers in AEW. We don't need anybody else signed in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We need it behind the camera.
Yep.
Because whoever edited this and made the decisions on where to cut and what to cut and what they were talking about, something went wrong here.
Well, so this is where I was going to say, this is where the addition of Rampage will help out a storyline like this, because then you could do a press conference without as many bad edits. Let's be completely transparent, without as many bad edits. And it has a little bit of breadth to it, because I thought this was great, but it was condensed to like 45 seconds. So I'm excited for in the future, a year from now, 16 months from now, where these segments don't have to just be jam-packed onto Dynamite. It can live on Rampage. Or if you, again, want to elevate Elevation, it can live on Elevation. So I thought it was good. Again, we're going to get that match, I believe, next week. But it felt a little rushed. And so it was good, but anyhow. So let's keep going. After the commercial break, we see Tony Schiavone again. This time, though, in the ring. He is introducing Andrade El Idolo. Now, Andrade says, got a surprise for you. Got new representation. Vicky, love her, kicking her to the curb. We're getting Chavo.
Who's the other guy?
I think that's just an assistant. I even asked that on our Twitter page. I was like, have we ever explained who the white guy is? I think that's just an assistant. But he's been there the entire time. After week 1, he's been there the entire time. He's just never talked.
So what? Like, you're just trading Guerreros?
So that's what I thought. Right.
Don't get me wrong. I like Chavo, but
And the pop is big because it's Texas, and Guerreros are big everywhere, but they're especially popular in the great state of Texas, which feels like a cult. Side story there. But yeah, if it's a major surprise and it's Chavo, cool. But I don't know if that was the big thing there. Where we got the fun stuff, though, is Death Triangle comes out and was like, hey, heard you call her name. What the fuck you want, pal? And Andrade gets right to the point. He says, hey, the 2 luchadors, what are you doing with the gringo? Huh? Why don't you come work for me?
Right, yeah.
And this is what I like the most about the segment. Is Chavo does a little bit of the translation for Pac. It makes sense from a storyline perspective. He's like, hey, Pac, you can only speak one language, so I'll translate for you. And says what they have been saying back and forth to each other. But what I liked is it was authentic to who all the people were in this storyline. They spoke Spanish because that's what they fucking do. And it made sense. Now the story, though. What do you think we're getting from here? Because it seems like Death Triangle is staying united. Rey Fenix and Pentagon were like, hey, we're the king of the luchadors, not you. Andrade's like, you're fucking dumb. I'm going to kick your ass, I guess. And then Pac was like, don't try to fuck this up. We're a triangle. So fuck you.
I mean, I could only think we get like Pac versus Andrade, and then it lends to the idea that like, are they going to turn on Pac and join him? Like, but that
do you
feels
think
weird.
That's where they go?
They just swap it out. Like that feels weird. So I don't know. I mean, like, look, don't get me wrong. Pac versus Andrade is probably going to be cool, but I don't.
Well, you know how AEW is just signing every fucking person. By the way, check out Past Blue Ribbon's Twitter account. They said they also signed with AEW, which I thought was fun.
I love that. That was great.
Why not we've got a couple luchadors from WWE that were released, right? We got two of the members from Lucha House Party that are gone from WWE. What if they show up in AEW? And then we get a 6-man tag of Andrade, the other two guys, and then Death Triangle.
AEW needs another show at this point.
Well, they do. They're getting one. Remember, Rampage is coming up.
I mean, they
now
are,
it's a
but like they
1-hour
need
show.
another one. Yeah.
Yeah. This is, again, where a segment like this would be great on Elevation, right? Like, Elevation is where you can do these things. Have Dark be where, Ryan Mantell, friend of the show, shout out to him. Great to see him on AEW programming. But he can stay on Dark, but then you can bring Andrade's segment here to Elevation or, again, in the future, to Rampage. But let's get back to AEW's Dynamite's Fyter Fest Night 2 from last night. Then we had Christian backstage, and he's like, hey, let's end this shit between me and Matt Hardy, right? So next week it's going to be Christian and Jurassic Express versus the Hardy Family Office. Hopefully we do a little of that storyline because, again, little tired of the Hardy Family Office. And also I'm ready for whatever's next with Christian and Jurassic Express. What do you think happens, though?
Yeah. I'm tired of the Hardy Family Office. I really am. You may be right. We may be getting something with this Christian and the Luchasaurus because now it's like it's Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus, and so Marco Stunt's like, fuck me, right? Like, I wasn't part of this trio. Like,
well, he got beat up, right? So they showed footage from earlier that he got beat up by the Hardy Family Office. That's what brought out Jurassic Express and Christian. So I get it, but yeah. The odd man out almost feels like Marco Stunt. Maybe he inserts himself here and says, hey, fuck out of here. This is our party, not yours, Christian. Get out. But we'll see. I just think we're going to do something with Christian and Jungle Boy because they've been bumping into each other for so long that it feels like it would be weird if they just said, shake hands and I'll go this way and you go that way. It feels like we won't do that. But again, I could be wrong. All right, so now let's get, after the commercial break, Marvez is backstage with The Factory. Cutie, which again, god dang it, our 8-year anniversary.
Man. Oh, I promised him. God damn it. I'm sorry, Cutie.
Almost
fucking,
god
damn it. Q-Tip Marsupial is my favorite wrestler. Okay.
Hold on,
all right.
Tim, let's just break kayfabe here for a second. Let's be real. We're going to have you on, Cutie, but we had a scheduling conflict because you got to celebrate with Bronze, and we couldn't get you on. My apologies, but goddamn, look how good I look.
Yeah, goddamn, huh? Right, guy?
Fucking get Abe Lincoln off the penny and put me on because I look fucking great.
Right, guy?
But anyhow, The Factory says, hey, we poured fucking protein drink on Tony Schiavone's head last week, but we'll apologize. But we're going to do it next week. So next week we'll issue an apology. So we'll see The Factory and Tony Schiavone. What do you think happens here?
More Factory being Factory, I guess.
But who saves Tony Schiavone in this circumstance? Because we already had Cody, right? So like Cody can't do it again. So who comes out and says like Factory, get out of here? Is it Jurassic Express?
Maybe it's somebody's gonna do something. I just don't know. Yeah, we'd have to like look through the roster of who's got a stall right now and who needs to be a white meat baby face right now.
Yeah. You know who could do it? Because he's
Gage.
Well, no, because he's kind of not doing anything because Death Triangle looks like they're reunited, and we got Jon Moxley and New Japan storylines. You know who could defend Tony Schiavone? Eddie fucking Kingston.
Eddie Kingston should be there fucking Stone Cold right now, if you ask me.
Well, he kind of is, right? So,
but I mean, they need to push it like that. Like he's the fucking guy, man. Well, Hangman's the guy right now. I give him that.
Yeah, but I could see Eddie Kingston coming to Tony Schiavone's aid. Real quick note that I forgot to mention during the Britt Baker Nyla Rose match. I love how Tony Schiavone throughout all matches, unless it involves Don Callis, is very neutral, right? He's just like, oh, that's not good for the babyface, but we'll see if he can come back. But when Britt Baker wrestles, he's like, get out of the way. What the hell? Come on. Like,
so, and again,
they're
professionals enough, though, to know that and to do that. Like, that's on purpose. But I love this idea that, like, Tony really – but they haven't really explained it.
They're best friends.
It's just weird.
They're best friends.
It's like when Mick Foley was like, I'm Melina's friend. And we're like, why? I mean, or whatever. Yeah, it's like, what? That's weird. Yeah, it's fun.
I like that. I do like that. Okay, so now after we get the factory saying that they're going to apologize to Tony Schiavone next week, we get back into the ring. We get that Orange Cassidy versus Blade match. And this is what I liked. I will say this. Earlier in the night, as we mentioned, the Blade comes out, knocks out Orange Cassidy with brass knucks. So then when he walks out for this match, he's like, hey, fuck Orange Cassidy. He's knocked out. He's not going to fucking come through. And that's where the intrigue is, right? So you plant the seeds a little bit earlier in the show to where now I'm interested to see, like, well, what are they going to do, right? Orange Cassidy's music hit. He didn't walk out. What's going to happen? AEW is the place where fucking anything can happen, it feels like.
Yep.
Now, nothing crazy happened. Orange Cassidy just came from the crowd and gave him the old Superman punch to his jaw, but at least it got me interested to start off the match. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Orange Cassidy the idea is fun. I do worry that, like, they're hitting it's starting to get Hogan must pose to some extent. Like, we got to get all the spots. So I would hope they find some new angle and some fun thing to do. We've seen this Orange Cassidy gimmick now for a while. I mean, it's been rolling around the indies. Mm-hmm. You know, it's here. Like, at some point, at some point, it's like, I get it, but
I think in the future, I think in the future, if you have an episode where, Orange Cassidy and Eddie Kingston have their stare down Sting version style of a fight, right? And we do that, and that's your only moment of Orange Cassidy, then that's when we're using Orange Cassidy the best, unless we have a storyline for him. This was, like you said, a little bit more overexposure, but again, it's Orange Cassidy, right? It's Orange Cassidy.
The crowd loves it.
Right. Yeah. Right now, he's still hitting home runs, so we're good. But again, it's getting to the point where, like, hey, like the Inner Circle, make me miss you a little bit.
Yeah.
So Orange Cassidy gets the victory, and then after he gets the victory, he says, I'm taking these brass knucks, and I'm getting sweet revenge, and I'm hitting you again. So I think that's the blow-off. I think that's where Orange Cassidy's going to do something. Butcher and the Blade, they're going to do something. We'll see what happens. But there it is. Now, as you mentioned, the Hogan Most Pose kind of gimmick in AEW, I don't think is being filled by Orange Cassidy. I think it's being filled by Chris Jericho. Because backstage, we get Chris Jericho being interviewed by Alex Marvez. And Chris Jericho says, if I've got to face the most demented, violent version of a wrestler in Nick Gage, then the most demented, violent version of Jericho needs to be here. It's the Painmaker. And look, I know in New Japan, he did some fun stuff, and credit Excalibur for trying to put that over where he said in New Japan, he was the Painmaker and he beat Okada, Evil, and a couple other people. I get it, right? But in AEW, I thought the most violent and demented version of Chris Jericho is when he beat up the Young Bucks' dad just because he fucking wanted to. Like, that's the version of Chris Jericho I want to see, not I wear fun goth paint.
Well, I'm getting used to the idea that AEW is going to operate under the idea that, like, a world of professional wrestling existed before we started, around us, and will continue, around us now. And if you don't understand it, it's not necessarily always our job to educate you. The stuff exists on YouTube and Google. And,
right.
To some extent, sure. We do hate how WWE will be like, here's how you download an app. So, some inferred understanding that, like, you can educate yourself on what the fuck he's talking about if you had to. And it might bring you down an avenue. So, I get it. I never caught any of the Painmaker Jericho stuff.
I saw a little bit of it, yeah.
So, fine. You know what I mean? I'll see how, he's going to go full bore into it. I'll get my exposure to it. From the looks of it, from what I did see from the outside, it's probably not my favorite Jericho. So, I'm more interested in Nick fucking Gage in this match.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Nick Gage is going to, like, we're going to get half of Jericho moving forward. Like, he's not going to be the same Jericho anymore.
I just think we didn't need 2 segments of Jericho, right? We had him kick off the show, and then we had him say, I'm going to be the Painmaker. We could have easily done this next week with right before the match. Right. Marva says, you're walking out to face the most violent pro wrestler in all of pro wrestling, Nick Gage. How do you combat that? And then he goes, I'm the Painmaker. And then he walks out and like, oh shit.
Yeah, like, oh,
right. Then there you go. I just didn't think I don't think we needed 2 segments of Orange Cassidy. And I didn't think we need 2 segments of Chris Jericho. Again, nothing horrible with it.
Well, here's the thing.
Let's not make that a habit.
Here's what I know. Now, I understand. Not everybody thinks things through deeply. Not everybody has an internal monologue and things like that, right? Here's what I'm telling myself. Jericho, did you bring both jackets? You brought some makeup with you? Were you like are you always ready to go as the Painmaker if need be?
That's, again, where it would make sense next week, where he would have time to prepare and say, like, I have now thought about what I need to do to get through this match, and I need to be the Painmaker.
Because I'm like, that's a jacket that, like, it needs its own case. You don't stuff that in the suitcase with other things. You bring that in its own suitcase. Because look at the fucking spikes. It's look, here, I'll put it up. It's behind you right now, Tom. And it's fucking, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking, you don't put that in a suitcase by itself. So, like, I know you brought that for a specific reason.
By the way, checking out the live stream here. Looks so fucking good. God,
is that what it is? He looks so good.
I am the best looking penny you have ever seen in your life.
Do you have abs like the Situation?
Yeah, of course. Look at me in this cutoff. You don't wear a cutoff.
Guns out, baby.
Yeah, you don't wear a cutoff with no muscles. Huh?
What's the tattoo?
It got my name.
I don't know that I've ever seen it.
It got a cross.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've seen your shoulders, but I've seen your ass.
Not the only one. Hey, let's get into the main event.
True facts. I think I saw your ass before I saw your shoulders in our 8 years of doing this show. How about that?
The title of the show.
I saw your ass before I saw your shoulders.
So let's get into the main event in Texas. It's a Texas death match for the IWGP United States Championship. Champion Jon Moxley taking on challenger Lance Archer. And by God, we got all the fun shit in here, didn't we?
Oh.
We had a fan get fucking seared. We got kendo stick. We got barbed wire. We got tables. This was just a clusterfuck of fun. Tim, what did you think of this main event?
I mean, how could it be anything other than what you described, right? I think we knew these guys were not going to shy away from what a death match is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
If they gave them any sort of limitations because it's American TV, they took every ounce of leeway they had within those limitations.
There was a fork involved, which, by the way, again, AEW, love you. You might be on the greatest 3-year ride I've ever witnessed in any promotional history, right? And then any promotion's history. It's amazing. However, I mentioned that this is now, I believe, 4 weeks in a row since the pandemic that you got wrestlers out in the fans when we don't know who's vaccinated and who's not, right? So that's one.
Yeah.
Again, kind of cut the shit there. But 2, maybe let's not share a fork where it's being jabbed into each other's head. If you're going to do the fork spot, let's get 2 forks, right? Let's keep it at least
please
sanitary. Because again, blood is real, and if you start mixing it and then you start putting it back in other people's heads and shit, things can happen. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying we don't need to take the risk. But I like this for 2 reasons. One, I felt like Jon Moxley got all of his use out of being in New Japan's promotion, right? He went over there, he wrestled Kenta, he did his fun stuff with some other guys like Suzuki and things like that. But by that time, or by now, it's enough, right? He's an AEW wrestler, so we need to get him a little bit focused on AEW. I also like, though, that Lance Archer gets a clean victory. Again, he puts him through a table with barbed wire, and Jon Moxley can't get out of the barbed wire, but still, he won fair and square. But this is also a shot in the arm for Lance Archer, because the last thing that he did was lose to Miro in a TNT championship match. So at least this is some fun shit that he can do. And then he can also go over to Japan and he can be the big monster that he used to be in New Japan. And also we don't have to feature him each and every week, and he can still get his work in with taking on guys like Evil or Ibushi or whoever it is with the IWGP United States Championship. So I thought this was a great move all around, and I liked that Lance Archer got the victory. Looks like next week we're already going to get his first title defense, where he's going to take on the son of Haku, and I'm going to butcher this name. I don't know, I'm not. I'm going to nail it. Hikaru. Nailed it. It's going to be Hikaru versus Lance Archer. My favorite moment of this was JR getting an erection when he realized how tall Hikaru was. Did you hear that in his voice? He was like,
yeah.
Oh my God, he's 6'8".
Yeah. I like this. I was honestly swerved too, because earlier in the show they said like Jon Moxley's going for this record reign, and I was like, oh well, Moxley's going to win,
Right,
because
yeah.
I didn't realize that before, but because I think last week I was like, yeah, Archer's going to win. So I heard that and I was like, oh well, then Moxley's winning. They're going to give him the reign before he fucking goes. Nope. Sorry about your damn luck, if I could quote whatever the fuck that guy's name was.
Beer money.
Yeah. So that was neat. I like that. And again, you're right. Archer is the way to go if you're going to take it off somebody that's believable and doesn't make Moxley look bad. I like it.
Yeah, and also, again, it gives a big monster some things to do outside of your promotion while still being an AEW guy, right? Because there's only so many times that he can beat up Dan Lambert like he did a couple weeks ago in Miami, where you're like, okay, what the fuck? Is he the new Braun Strowman? Well, kind of, but also here we go. We're going to send him over to Japan. He's going to beat up Kenta again, or whatever it is.
Okay.
So I like it all around. Great idea. Next week, we get some more New Japan action with Lance Archer defending his title. And Jon Moxley loses. And he loses because, hey, you can't win them all. And it's good to see you lose every so often, right? Because you can't be this invisible. You can't be this indestructible John Cena-like character in AEW. So I liked it. It was fun. It was good. And that was AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest Night 2. So you kind of tipped your hand. Of the two nights, you preferred night 1?
I did prefer night 1. I think I'll be at night 2 again. I gave it an A show. I don't think it was bad. How you come off of last week, right?
Yeah, I thought Britt Baker was great. You got to get her over. That's your star. I believe, again, from retweets and likes on Twitter, I saw that she was the highest rated segment of the night. So shows that she is a star. Credit to her. I love the Sting and Orange Cassidy moment. That was so much fun. Sting doing the beating on the chest. I thought it was so much fun. Obviously, Nick fucking Gage was incredible. MJF on commentary was great. Andrade in the Death Triangle, even though it was a little bit, not a lot, but it had that vibe and it had that feel of like, oh, something real is going to happen here. So thought it was an A+ show. Loved it. One of my favorite nights of Dynamite, back to back, night 1 and night 2. And next week we get Fight for the Fallen. So I tell you what, let's ride this high for as long as we can. I absolutely love it. And that is AEW.